research experience at JMU is unique because it focuses on the undergraduate students.
So it's real important to us that the students get involved in the practice of doing science pretty early on. I mean, in some cases even freshman year or at least sophomore year. We like to have students in the lab working on stuff that people have not done before.
By putting that research experience in students' hands, it separates our undergraduates from others. You know, it offers something incredibly unique.
Doing science doesn't mean taking an experiment that was done 100 years ago and repeating it. It means doing something novel and new and seeing something no one's seen before.
You and the professor are collaboratively working together in a very real sense to create new works that will be published and go to conferences and present about work that you actually did and you know through and through.
Other programs are training students to be great at memorizing and not great problem solvers. And I think we send problem solvers out into the world.
My goals kind of progress and change as we move along and decide what exactly we want to discover rather than a set laboratory.
The independent research and the focus on mentoring students to do research. Because when you're mentoring a student to do research, above the subject matter, you're mentoring a student to think critically.
Good morning. My name is Cynthia Bowerly, and I serve as the Dean of the College of Science and Mathematics here at JMU. I'm really excited to welcome you to our first ever Virtual Choices event. We're really glad you're with us today. The CSM offers 13 majors and a long list of minors and concentrations, all organized into 5 departments: biology, chemistry, geology, mathematics and statistics, and physics and astronomy. And so we've gathered a panel of faculty and students today to answer the questions that you have for us. So I'm going to ask each of the panelists to introduce themselves very briefly, and then we'll go right to your questions. So Steve, would you start, please?
Hi, my name is Steve Leslie. I'm the department head and professor of geology and environmental science.
And hi, my name is Sharon Babcock, and I serve as the director of the Pre-Professional Health Advising Office.
Hello, my name is Kyle Sperber, and I am a recent December 2019 graduate, and I studied biotechnology and political science.
I'm Chris Hughes. I'm the head of the Department of Physics and Astronomy.
Kasonia, can you introduce yourself?
Good morning. I'm Kasonia Johnson. I'm also a professor in the biology department.
Thanks, everyone. So we're going to start with a question actually for our student representative. The question is for you, Kyle. How did you choose your the academic path that you took at JMU, and what was valuable to you about the choice that you made and about your experience?
Yes, ma'am. So when I was considering different degree paths, I actually began as a biology major and found that for me, biotechnology made more sense. I'm pre-professional, so I plan on pursuing medical school, actually preparing for the MCAT right now. And so when I was looking at different universities, I really liked the focus of undergraduate research that you'll probably hear a lot about. And I was involved in that undergraduate research. I went through a research lab with Dr. Seifert in microbiology. So I kind of felt that that was the best path for me to reach my goals of becoming a physician and also a researcher. So I'm actually going to a master's program this coming fall that I'll begin in Georgetown to pursue some of those goals. And I felt that my program made me very prepared to work together as a team and pursue the research that we need to do right now.
Kyle, thank you for that. That's a fabulous story, and congratulations to you on your acceptance to the program at Georgetown. And now a question for the faculty representatives, all of whom are both faculty and leaders in the College of Science and Mathematics. And the question is, what if you had to choose one thing that you think makes the programs in the CSM and perhaps your own program unique, what would it be? Steve, why don't we start with you? Steve, did you hear the question? Sorry. The question is, if you had to if you had to indicate one thing about your program or about the college that you think makes us unique or special, what would it be?
Okay, now I'm unmuted. Okay, for our department, it's where we're located. We have great opportunities to do a lot of field work with students in the Shenandoah Valley and the Appalachian Mountains around us. We take every opportunity to go out on weekends and weekdays during classes and focus completely really on undergraduate education and undergraduate research with our students.
Sharon?
Now that I'm off of unmute, hands down, in my many years at JMU, the College of Science and Mathematics is filled with faculty who are absolutely passionate about their interactions with their students, whether those interactions are in the classroom, in the research laboratories, on the field trips, or just in the office having a conversation about learning about who you are and the decisions you need to make. It's a great place to be.
Thanks, Sharon. Chris, why don't you go next?
Well, Sharon kind of stole what I was going to say a bit there. I think the thing that strikes me is how much the faculty here really just enjoy the personal relationship they develop with students. And given that we have a relatively small department and also a kind of extraordinary amount of external funding for research, when students get involved in the research, they will spend summers here working with faculty and just get to know the faculty and the other students in the program so much better. I have students that I taught 2 decades ago that I still keep in touch with and know that their children may be coming to JMU soon, in fact.
Thanks, Chris. Kasonia, you're one of the newest additions to our CSM community. What do you see as the thing that makes us distinctive?
It is true. I've in this 1 year that I've been here at James Madison, I've really been impressed with not only the caliber of our students, but how engaged they are with the community and their efforts to make a difference and an impact on issues that they see that are facing us as biologists today. And I know that you said only one thing, but our faculty are also very committed to make sure that our students also have that ability to go out into the community and make change.
Thank you. I know it's hard to distill down just one thing. I think the community and the dedication of our faculty is one of the really distinctive features. We have a question. The question is, what jobs are students best prepared for after they graduate with a degree in math? Now, we don't actually have a math faculty person on the panel today, but I think I can give a little bit of an answer, and then I'll ask my colleagues to join me. I think that the mathematics department is really good at preparing students not not just in terms of the depth of the mathematics that they're learning while they're here, but also in helping them understand what their interests are in pursuing a profession in quantitative science or in some applied area, so that when they leave, whether they're choosing to go on to advanced studies with perhaps a graduate degree in an applied math field or statistics or some other area of math, or going directly into the workforce, they're ready with that applied nature. So we have students who go to a whole host of graduate programs. We also have students who go into various quantitative heavy fields, everything from some of the more sophisticated actuarial science areas that are really drawing a lot on data analytics these days, to cybersecurity areas, to banking and finance. Really, it's a wide variety. I'll ask if anyone else maybe has an anecdote about a student who had a math degree and went in a particular direction.
I'll jump in here because a lot of the physics majors actually do either a math minor or a math dual major, because by the time you've taken all the courses we require in math, it's really not that far a stretch to go. So a lot of our majors that do decide to go straight into industry do go into quantitative like fields. Some of the ones that come off the top of my head, we had a student a few years back who now works for a company that does the orbital mechanics for satellites. So they're trying to track where satellite positions are and be able to keep track of all the ones that are up there right now. So it's a really interesting mathematics and physics problem. The students that we have that have gone straight into industry actually wind up getting job offers and getting salaries that are I shouldn't say this, but the salaries may be better than we're paying our faculty. In fact, they do really well when they go straight into industry. But others, they'll decide to go on for further study because they love the science or they think there's more that they could do with it. But in general, the people who have those kind of quantitative and analytical skills, that they have almost no trouble finding work afterwards.
Chris, thank you. I appreciate that. We have another question. This comes from Leah. Right now, I'm going into JMU as a biology major, but I'm considering a pre-health path. Do I need to change my major to pre-health? So, Sharon, I'm gonna ask you to address that question.
That is a great question. And the answer is, please, no, don't change your ideas about the major that you want to finish. I want anyone who's listening who is interested in a pre-professional health program to realize that the pre-health programs are minor programs. So you have to choose, make that really important major decision about selecting the degree program that's of greatest interest to you. So pre-health, we have students in all different colleges, and if you're interested in biology right now, that's a great opportunity and pathway to get into a health profession.
Great. I wonder if I could ask Kyle to just speak to that a little bit, because you mentioned earlier that you are interested in medical school.
Sure, absolutely, yeah. That I would completely concur. In fact, when you speak to the medical schools, they encourage you to pursue, a major that you're interested in, not just a, pre-med type thing. Like if you want to study something totally different that you can still meet the prerequisites with, they encourage that, and they're looking for that unique person. So if biology is what interests you, I would suggest you do biology. There's lots of different routes. I know they have different concentrations in biology now that they actually didn't even have when I started at JMU 5 years ago, that have really developed. And you can do, I'm sure Dr. Johnson could correct me on some of these if I mess them up, but I know microbiology is one, neurobiology, but there's lots of different concentrations and things you can do in biology. But yeah, they would recommend you choose a major that suits you best.
Great, thank you, Kyle. We have a question from Olivia. I'm taking a bioanatomy class in the fall. Will it be with Dr. Johnson?
Olivia, I wish that I could say yes to that question, but actually I am not going to be teaching anatomy in the fall. I want you to know that this is one of our most popular courses. You're going to love it, and you're going to learn a lot from the instructors who do teach it. And you should come by my office to meet me after you've taken your first anatomy lab and tell me how much you liked it.
That's great advice, and it's also a great and absolutely serious invitation that you have. So I hope,
Absolutely.
Olivia, I hope you take Dr. Johnson up on that invitation. Here's a question from Paola. I got accepted to JMU for earth science with the original intent to pursue environmental science, but I've been thinking of focusing on atmospheric sciences and meteorology. Is this field still okay? Steve, can you take that one?
Yes, I think that you're in the right spot. That's exactly where you should be with this. We do teach the meteorology course at JMU in our program. And if you're interested in moving into atmospheric sciences, climate studies, that kind of area, you should be in the program that you're in right now. There are some other options also with that. There are environmental science minors that we have here at JMU. There's and I think that you should look into that, but there's no hurry on doing that. Come here, come and meet me. Love to see you here in the fall and sit down with me. We can talk about it individually, and go ahead, start with the earth science degree. And then we can talk a little bit more also about, if you heard a little bit before about the quantitative courses, if you're thinking of moving into atmospheric sciences and meteorology, you should seriously think about some of the quantitative courses that are offered in the math program as well as in the physics program.
I think you've already started to answer this next question, Steve, but I'll go ahead and read it in case there's anything else that you'd like to add. I know JMU doesn't have a major directly related to atmospheric sciences, so are there any minors or courses that you'd recommend? I think you've already started to answer that. Anything else to add?
Yes, if with atmospheric sciences, I think you may be thinking also in climate science as well with atmospheric science, and the answer is yes. And you come and talk to me in the Department of Geology and Environmental Science. There are also some courses in integrated science that may be of interest to you as well, and we can point you in those directions.
Thanks, Steve. We have another question, and this one is from Rebecca. I'm interested in pursuing undergraduate research at JMU. How challenging would you say it is to have the opportunity to research and find a mentor for your work? I'm going to suggest that maybe we start with Kyle. Kyle, could you, because I know you did research while you were at JMU, can you talk about a little bit about your experience?
Sure. Yeah, I think that's an awesome question. It's one of the questions I had when coming. It's actually one of the reasons that I chose JMU opposed to other universities, because some of the larger schools, at least in Virginia, the big R1 universities, UVA, Virginia Tech, VCU, they're harder for undergraduates to get into research because they have a more focus on their graduate students. So I think if that's something you're interested in, JMU is a great option for you. And then to answer about how hard it is to get involved with that, I found that it was definitely work. You need to research the different faculty members you want to work with, but it takes a simple email, going to their office, and it's important to know you might get rejected for one or two of them. They might have a full lab, but if you be persistent, keep finding people, keep seeking it out, you will find a mentor pretty guaranteed, I would say.
Great, thank you, Kyle. And Rebecca, just to give you a sense of how well integrated research is for undergraduates in the College of Science and Math, 80% of our graduates every year report that they've been involved in research with faculty in one of the departments that we offer. So our faculty are receptive. They're excited about working with undergraduates, and I think Kyle's suggestion about making the attempt to research your faculty a little bit, get to know who you might be interested in working with is a really good strategy. But once you knock on their door, you're going to have a good conversation with them. Are there things, Chris, Kasonia, Steve, that you'd like to add to that?
I'll jump in here actually, because one of the things that I find this kind of amusing actually. I had a student several years ago talk about how they felt like they had trouble getting involved in undergrad research because they were intimidated by having to go talk to a professor. And I just started laughing when I heard that, to think that we're scary in some way. I mean, there's nothing that the faculty here love more than to be able to talk about their work and also talk to students about it. So never be afraid to go knock on a door and say, I think I might be interested in your work in active galactic nuclei or whatever it might be. Because odds are you're going to lose about 45 minutes, because once you get a faculty member started talking about their research, they're not going to want to stop. So don't be afraid of the faculty. We're here because we want to do what we do with you, and that's probably message number one. Is I have had many occasions where there's been a knock on my door, and I look up and think, oh man, what is this now? But never has that happened when a student knocks on my door. And I think most of the other faculty feel the same way, that we're always happy to see students come talk to us.
If I could jump in as well. Rebecca, one of the ways that you could learn more about the research capabilities that we have is to actually talk to your freshman advisor when you're ready to sign up for classes. Your advisor, if you tell them right away that you're interested in research, independent research with a faculty member, they can point you in the direction of faculty who take freshmen as independent researchers. But also, all across the College of Science and Math, we have many courses that are CURES. You'll hear the acronym a lot once you get here. And that stands for something like, maybe you guys could help me.
Course-based undergraduate research experience.
Thank you. So the course-based undergraduate research experience. So if you're a biology major, for example, your very first class that you take with us will be Foundations of Biology 1. And the laboratory component of that is a research-based class. So we'll introduce you from the very beginning to getting started on undergraduate research, and then you'll have help with finding labs later on.
Thank you. We could all talk about the research experiences of our undergraduates all day long. I'm going to go on to the next question. I want to make sure we answer all the questions. This is from Aaron. I'm coming into JMU as undecided, but I'm interested in majoring in biology. What courses should I take as a freshman to learn more about the science department?
I think I'd answer that one too. Aaron, I actually don't know what courses you would be required to take because I'm new. Let me put the caveat out there. Everyone else may help you a little bit more. As an undecided major, what your freshman courses would be. But you will have a freshman advisor when you first come onto campus. And that advisor is going to talk to you a lot about your interests and your short-term and long-term goals. And they will be able to point you to a schedule that should allow you to have an introduction to many of the courses. But also, you can always talk to the faculty. You can always visit the departments. We always want to talk to you about our courses and our majors and where you could go with a long-term career should you decide to major in that particular area.
Great, thank you, Kasonia. Here's a question from Harrison. I'm interested in pursuing pre-med and majoring in biology or chemistry. Can I also minor in math?
Yes, you can, absolutely.
And Harrison, if I can add in, if you would like to meet and talk with a student who's done just that, who's just finishing up her second year in medical school at Howard, I'd be happy to put you into contact with her. She happened to be a biology major who did undergraduate research in the chemistry department, and she finished a mathematics minor. So you would find not only faculty that would support that decision, but also fellow students to talk to about that pathway.
It's one of the things that we like to say about the CSM, that whatever your interest is coming in, we can find a path for you to pursue that interest. Here's a question for Chris. What sets JMU's physics major apart from other colleges?
I mean, we're the best. I mean, the way I usually say this when students are in person visiting our department is, if you look at the physics major, the courses you take, I mean, almost every department in the country is going to have you taking things like electricity and magnetism and quantum mechanics and thermodynamics. And quite often we use, I mean, the book we use for quantum is probably the same book they're using at Duke right now. I mean, the content of the courses isn't that much different. It's the attention that we would give on a kind of personal level. And also what I think is really most significant is that you get a chance to apply that somewhere. I mean, the way I like to phrase this is, if you were considering a dance major and you went to a university and they had really great dance faculty and you toured the place and they talked about all the dance theory classes you would take, but you never once saw a studio, you would probably think that wasn't a place to go study dance. And I think the same thing goes for us in physics, that when you come to JMU, we have studios in our laboratories, and the undergrads actually get in there and they do science, because you don't learn science unless you do science. And that's what we always kind of hang our hat on in the whole college, really, but particularly for me in the college, the Department of Physics and Astronomy, is that you get to learn how to do it by doing it, as opposed to just studying the content.
Thanks, Chris. That makes the really good point that, you know, the College of Science and Math really operates very much the same way as in terms of research support as other institutions that have a lot of really high-powered research. We have the same instrumentation, we have the same laboratory facilities. The difference is that because we don't have a lot of graduate education in our college, our undergraduate students get to work directly in those laboratories with that instrumentation and with the faculty mentors. So there's a clear path for undergraduates to engage in really high quality experiences. I want to give a shout out here. Apparently we have a budding mathematician who is 7 years old, who's listening in on the call today, and his mother Tara says hi. So I don't know your son's name, but we are ready for him to join us whenever he's ready. So hello to you. Here's another question, I think for Sharon. I'm interested, this is from Danya. I'm interested in becoming a radiologist and majoring in biology with a minor in pre-med. Am I choosing the correct major for my interest?
Danya, I'm assuming that biology is what you're passionate about, because if that is what you're interested in, that is a great choice to combine as an aspiring physician. Doing the pre-med minor means you would be connected to our advising office that would help you with all of the elements of that. And radiology is going to be a specialty that you would decide upon after about a year before you graduate from medical school. So that certainly sounds like a wonderful pathway. And I think if you find, and after listening to this, about the passion of the faculty and the research opportunities and the relationships with the mentors, that's what you'll need for great letters and great experience to help make your decision.
Thanks, Sharon. We have a question from Paola. When you major in science, are you able to minor in something not related to your major? For instance, if I majored in say, chemistry, would I be able to minor in something in the arts field? Kyle, you had sort of an interesting dual major that you pursued. Why don't you talk a little bit about how that worked for you? What was easy about it? Maybe some of the challenges, and why you made that choice.
Sure. So I I actually did a dual degree. So I got a BS in biotechnology and a BA in political science. But what's funny about that is, like your interest, that began for me as a minor in political science. And I found, hey, I really like this. Why not just take a few more classes in it and make it a major? And then I realized at that point, all I needed was a foreign language to get the second degree. And I already kind of had that going for me. So on top of that, I actually did two other minors, one in the medical humanities, which is a really cool minor that JMU has to offer, which kind of works in that arts field. You have courses in philosophy, writing, rhetoric, all kinds of different options within the arts that you can do. And then another one I did was a minor in chronic illness, which is through the School of Nursing. And that was really cool as well. So I really did have a diverse studies. What I would say is one of the greatest things I liked about JMU, that speaking to the challenges that Dean Bowerly brought up, it was a lot of work. I mean, I enjoyed it, but I had to do some summer classes here and there online, and I had to push myself. And for me, it worked. That wouldn't necessarily work for everybody. I did actually stay an extra semester as well, so I graduated in 4.5 years. But I definitely think that's an option you should consider.
Thank you, Kyle. Kyle also served on the student council for the College of Science and Math, and I think he didn't sleep for 4.5 years. I think that's how he managed to do all of the things that he did.
Would you mind if I add something here?
Sure.
Yes. So in physics, we have a lot of students who do dual majors. Part of that's just because physicists, we all think we can learn anything. It's just part of the attitude a physics student and professor has. But I'll give you the example. We had a student who graduated last year who was a dual major in physics and dance. And the nice thing about that is, as a relatively small department for us, we were able to do things like move our lab courses around so that she didn't have conflicts with some of her dance classes. I mean, we actually were able to make accommodations for her to make sure she could finish both majors. But we also have students that double major in physics and philosophy and physics and music. I mean, it's not unusual at all, but it does take some planning, and it does take a lot of communication with the faculty to make sure that you can get it done appropriately.
Great, thank you. We have one final question. So let me go ahead and I think I'll ask Steve and Chris and Kasonia if the three of you would just give a brief answer today. How does CSM stay current in research? Are you responding to questions coming up in the science and math world?
Yeah, I can start with that. And the answer is yes. I mean, our faculty are writing grant proposals to places like the National Science Foundation and getting funded to do current research. We're in the same pool as every other university and applying for these funds. And our faculty, with our students commonly, are publishing on this research in top flight journals and going to regional, national, and international conferences and interacting with the research community at large, and so we stay active. We stay active in the community that way, and we have really top-notch analytical laboratories for undergraduates to do this work with the faculty in. And so when you come and you work with us, you're not just working on a data set you downloaded commonly from the internet or something like this. You're generating that data set in a research lab, learning how to use things like isotope ratioing, mass spectrometers, and things like this, generating your data, answering real questions with the faculty as part of your research experience.
Thanks, Steve. Chris?
Yeah, I'm going to agree with Steve on a lot of what he said. I think one of the things that's important to recognize that the value of research as we do it, I mean, part of it is that we are scholars and we want to contribute to our field. So therefore, it's important that we're doing things that are original, that are getting judged by our peers out there in the science community. And like Steve said, we have people that are getting funding from, in our case, NSF and NASA and multiple places. We have in our department over $1.5 million in currently active grant funding. So we actually are out there competing and getting funded to do original work. And the part I want to emphasize about that is the original work. That there's something different about going in a lab as a student. And I had this experience myself when I was an undergrad, of going in and knowing that the professor doesn't know the answer yet either. That you're doing something that nobody knows until you discover it. And it's a totally different experience than going to chapter 3 and solving problem 32, because no one knows it, and it's original, and other people have judged that this is a question worth asking as part of the funding process. So it is important to us.
Thanks, Chris. Sonia?
So what I'm going to say is not really different from what the other two have said. It's just going to emphasize a little bit about some of the things that we do. Well, first, in the biology department, we have microbiologists, we have neuroscientists, we have ecologists, we have anatomists, physiologists. And so when you think of biology questions that come up around the world, we represent everything in that spectrum. But all across the college, for all of the degrees or all of the departments, our faculty actually travel all over the world to either do their research or to talk about the research findings that they've had. And they take their students with them. Some of those students do it through study abroad. They go to China, they go to Japan, they go to Africa, they go all over the world to collect data, to analyze data, or to collect samples and bring those samples back to campus and then analyze them. Or they go to those same places to present their research. So it's impossible to be a scientist or to be a good scientist without interacting with the rest of the world and understanding what they're learning and sharing with them what you're learning at the same time. And here at JMU, we teach our students how to be that type of scientist.
Thank you all. I want to thank all of the panelists for joining us today. Thank you, all of you who are listening in the audience for joining us. I hope you've gotten a sense of the excitement that we all have about the programs that we support and about all of the great opportunities that we make possible for our students. If you were not able to get your question answered, please go ahead and post it in the comments section. Those questions will come to me and I'll distribute them and make sure they get to someone who can provide you an answer after today's panel. You also can visit the Choices website and there'll be more information there, and you should be able to see the link for that website posted on your screens. So once again, thank you so much for joining us today. To the panel members, I appreciate your time. And I hope you have a great rest of the day. Thanks so much.